We are now a few weeks into a new school year, and I'm already hearing from parents that their mornings are stressful. I don't know about you, but it's hard for me to feel good launching into my day if I've had a really challenging morning getting my girls off to school. I have found this to be true ever since I started sending my girls to daycare when they were infants. And just like how I like to end my day with my girls with a calm, predictable bedtime routine, I also like to start my day with my girls with a consistent morning routine. Today, we're going to talk about morning routines. This episode is for anyone who's sending their child off to daycare, preschool, or elementary school. Hi, I'm Allison Egidi, a pediatric sleep and wellness coach and a mom of two. I love to help parents find solutions. This is How Long Till Bedtime. At this point, I think you know that I love a short and sweet bedtime routine. And if you're new here and you want to hear about the bedtime routine that I recommend that takes 30 minutes or less, be sure to check out episode 91. Well, I also love a short and smooth morning routine. And I can tell you with confidence that after working with hundreds and hundreds of families with young children, you, like me and my clients, are going to feel much more prepared to have a productive day if you're getting your kids off to school or daycare smoothly. And by the way, it's setting your kids up to have a more productive day. You're probably not going to be surprised by what I think is key for this to happen. It's having a plan and a little preparation. But I actually don't think it requires a ton of prep. For example, I have great admiration for parents who prepare lunches and snack for their kids in advance the night before, but that's just not how Mike and I operate. So we don't even prep food the night before. As it relates to prepping in advance, there are really three things that I prioritize. First, I try to make sure that the girls are getting enough sleep so that ideally they're waking up on their own. As they get older, I have to admit that this has been a little bit more challenging because they have homework that may keep them up past their ideal bedtime, and they have later sporting activities that also play into homework getting done later, staying up later. But I like to have them naturally waking up, or if I have to wake them up, about 30 minutes before we need to be out the door and into the car. And let me tell you that our mornings always go smoother when they are well rested. This morning was a good example. They both woke on their own because they got to bed at a reasonable time, and they just wake in better moods. So prioritize having your child well rested. Have them going to bed on time so they're getting enough sleep. Everyone's going to be in a better mood in the morning. Second, I set out the girls' clothes the night before. My girls wear uniforms, so they don't have a lot of choices, but I also don't have 5 days worth of uniforms for each of them. So occasionally, last night being one of those nights, I don't have their clothes washed and ready by the time I put them to bed. So they know if the clothes already aren't sitting on a chair at the end of their bed, that when they wake up in the morning, those clothes will be right outside their door, and the first thing they are supposed to do is get dressed. I realize this may seem like a small thing, and you may be thinking, it doesn't take me long to pick out their clothes or take my child long to pick out their clothes, or it's a uniform and they're going to wear the same thing every day. But I've done this both ways many times, and I can tell you that not having to look for any of the clothes, look for socks, discuss clothes when it was before they were wearing uniforms, to just be able to have them roll out of bed, see those clothes, and start putting them on is hugely helpful. So get those clothes laid out the night before. Third, pack up their bag or backpack. I swear that whenever we miss this step, the morning is more manic and something gets forgotten. In fact, this morning we forgot a book for Ainsley because we didn't pack it last night. And then lo and behold, when she got home, she said, not only did I forget that book that I remembered in the car on the way to school, I also forgot my math homework. It was sitting on the counter with the book. It feels like this happens in our house a lot if we don't get the bags packed the night before. So my girls now have homework. So their job before they head up to get to bed is to put their books and their folders back in their backpack. When they were younger, it was really about me getting their spare clothes and crib sheets that they would take to daycare in their bag ready the night before. So basically, I try to have everything other than their lunch and water bottles packed and ready to go the night before. So it's one less thing we have to scramble around and look for. So that's about it for prep. Those are the 3 things I prioritize. Another big thing is knowing who's doing what in the morning. Everyone has a responsibility. Mike and I like to divide and conquer whenever we're both in town. He's in charge of packing their lunches and feeding them breakfast. While he's doing that, I stay upstairs and I make sure that everything that needs to happen before the girls eat breakfast gets done. I make sure they are dressed, their hair and teeth are brushed, their beds are made, and they've turned off the lights before they head downstairs. This process was definitely more hands-on when they were younger, when I used to have to dress them. But now it's really about me making sure that they don't get distracted or dilly-dally or chit-chat. They are definitely in a different stage. This morning they were jamming out to tunes, and I just have to make sure they're keeping them moving. But in both the hands-on stage and the less hands-on stage, one of us is focused on getting the kids ready, walking the kids through those initial steps, and the other is dealing with food. On the note of the initial morning steps for the kids, have your kids dressed and ready for the day before they eat breakfast. I'm going to repeat this again. Have your kids dressed and ready for the day before they eat breakfast. Sometimes one of my girls will try to go downstairs and eat breakfast because they say, but I'm really hungry. But I assure you, this never ends well for us. I don't doubt that sometimes they are hungry first thing, but it always results in everything taking longer because it adds to the number of transitions that we have to navigate. They go downstairs, then they eat breakfast, then I have to get them back upstairs to change their clothes, then I have to get them back downstairs. So I know I say this all the time, but I think it's worth repeating. Transitions can be tricky for young children. Part of a smooth bedtime and/or morning routine is to limit the number of transitions that our kids need to navigate, that we need to navigate with them. So we are very clear with the girls that they have morning steps that need to be followed. They need to get dressed, brush their hair, brush their teeth, and make their beds. Then they go downstairs and eat breakfast. After breakfast, all they need to do is put on their shoes and we are out the door. It may sound too simple, but doing everything in a consistent order really does help keep mornings running smoothly. It's not uncommon for Mike or I to be traveling for work, and it's been that way since our girls were infants. So we both have a lot of experience flying solo in the mornings. Mike's out of town right now. He's going to be out of town all of next week. So when one of us is out of town, I think the key to flying solo is the parent getting up about 30 minutes before the kids get up. That way, before the girls are even up and starting their morning steps, the parent who's home is able to get the dogs out and fed, have the lunches packed, and have breakfast ready, or at least in the process of being ready. So if you're a single parent or have a spouse who travels or leaves really early in the morning and you need to handle mornings on your own, I can't stress enough how important it is to have those extra 30 minutes without the distractions of your kids. And back in the day, when I would head right into an office after dropping the girls off at daycare or school and I needed to be professionally dressed, I would say I woke up about 45 minutes before the girls so that I could get myself ready for work and do all that prep that I mentioned before they were up. Now, when I did that, I did do a little bit additional night before prep. I would shower the night before and have my hair dried and in somewhat decent condition so that in the morning, all I really had to do was throw on some makeup, touch up my hair a little bit, and then throw on my clothes and I was ready to rumble. So it didn't take a lot of extra time. And of course, if prepping lunches and snacks the night before is your jam, you're probably going to need even less time ahead of when your kids wake up. My last piece of advice on morning routines is to avoid screen time if at all possible. I realize that many parents use screens to help keep their little kids still and in one spot while they do all those things in the morning. But if your mornings are stressful and you're using screens, I promise you that there is a very good chance the screens might be adding to the stress. I want to strongly encourage you to try just 1 week without any morning screens and see if you notice a difference. Of course, the first couple of days are going to be an adjustment and you might get some pushback, but if you plan on following consistent morning steps that don't include screens and you just power through some of that initial pushback, you should see improvement by the end of the first week. And then you can decide how you feel about screens in the morning. And don't forget that it's not just about deciding on your morning routine steps. It's critically important that you communicate those steps to your child or children. If you have a toddler or preschooler, I just tell them each morning what's going to happen. You're going to feel like a bit of a broken record, but they're going to start to catch on. And each morning you're prepping them by communicating the steps. So when you get them up, it's good morning. Okay, it's time for us to get dressed. And then we're going to head down and eat breakfast. And then we're going to put on your shoes. And then we're going to head to school. So that may be how you would approach it with a preschooler, for example. For the older, more independent children, remind them at bedtime what they are supposed to do in the morning. Like mine, they may need some encouragement along the way or some help keeping them on track, but they should know the steps that you want them to take each morning. I am often telling my girls at bedtime, okay, now remember, when you get up, your clothes are right here. You just need to put your clothes on, brush your hair, brush your teeth, turn off those lights, or make your bed. Don't forget that. Make your bed, turn off those lights, and head downstairs. So I'm often reminding them, even though I know they know what they should be doing, I still remind them at night so that they wake up knowing, yes, mom still wants us to follow the morning routine. So here's to ending and starting our days with our kids with intention and positive vibes that will then allow us to have a smooth morning and a very productive day. As always, thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so that you'll be able to easily find our new episode each week. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to How Long Till Bedtime. To learn how we can work together to improve your child's sleep, please visit sleepandwellnesscoach.com.